wouldn't it be incredible to have put your feelings into a song and make it sound beautiful? And actually, it's something I've come back to after all these years, is that still the thing. It's a very teenage thing in me.
He has been called a genius and a downtown ringleader by The New Yorker and hailed by a host of other luminaries.
He is a singer, songwriter, filmmaker, and now a dad.
Joining us from across the pond is Spottiswoode.
My name is Nancy Magarill. I'm a singer, songwriter, composer, performer, graphic and web designer.
And I'm Peter Michael Marino, and I'm a writer, producer, creator, performer, and educator.
We are New York-based artists you may or may not have heard of.
And we are here to introduce you to other artists you may or may not have heard of.
They're building a road from the moon to the sun. Then they'll build another road when that road is done. They're working so hard, but they've only just begun building that road from the moon to the sun. And everybody wants to succeed. And everybody longs to be free.
Jonathan, not only are you a wonderful singer, songwriter, and director, but you are a total mensch. Listeners, Jonathan was one of our guinea pigs before Peter and I really knew what we were doing with this show, and he has graciously offered to come back for another interview with us. And I'm really, really grateful to you for that.
My pleasure.
And you're one of our first guests not living in the United States.
Is he one of, or is he?
One of. Well, I don't know who else we'll be talking to, but right now...
Well,
he is the first guest that is not in the States that we're interviewing.
Assuming that this is the first one that we're running.
Okay.
Okay.
Good point.
And it's exciting because Jonathan is our first guest from overseas. We're so international already.
Jonathan Spottiswoode, what's happening?
I'm mixing a record, an album, an old-fashioned album. I'm making videos. I've noticed in the past I've generally make sort of B+ level music videos.
What does that mean?
It means they're okay.
You're just going to plateau at B+. That's your...
Well, that's what no, it's exactly. Well, I'm glad you bring it up, Peter. I think I would like to make at least one of these videos be better than B+. Maybe even B++ if I'm very lucky.
What makes a video more than B+? What elements makes something more than B+?
That's a good question. I think concept, commitment, technical chops, all of those things, probably concept most of all, and a real commitment. I think that's what it is. I think in the past, I've been like, okay, no, the music's more important. Oh, you know what? Just to make it easy for certain people to click on it, I'll give them some images to go along with it. I'm being slightly, it's not the full truth, but that's close to the truth. Whereas I think this time, I think at least with one of the songs, I'd like to make it like, no, this is very special. But how I do that without spending lots of money is a good question.
So it's difficult to collaborate on something like a music video because you are a good person and want to pay people who are working for you.
I like the way you put it, as a good person. I mean, you think that people would do it if I didn't pay them, and then I'd just be mean. Yeah, I guess. I'm also, because I live in London now, and I did used to live in New York, and I have more contacts in that regard in New York, although I have contacts here in London. Just feel a little bit, no, I'm happy, Pete, I'm very happy to ask favors, definitely.
Oh, good.
So I just, it's just a little harder to ask favors in London in certain departments, I suppose.
Because you don't have the connections that you had in New York? Or is it that it's a different mindset in London?
I think it's the former. I mean, I do have my partner, Claire, who has been the videographer for most of the videos I've done and often takes the photographs and often helps with the editing. And so the thing that I'm excited about at the moment is that I wrote a musical many, many years ago that played in the New York Musical Theatre Festival in 2010, which was exhausting. And then a few years after that, I thought, I'll adapt it into a screenplay because it's impossible to get musical theatre produced. It's also impossible to get movies produced. But, maybe if I got two, doubly impossible. No, it made sense. I actually prefer, in a way, I'm not a musical theatre connoisseur, but I think I prefer them on film often.
I love them on film.
So it was a lovely challenge to adapt the musical into a film. And I added more characters and then a couple of months ago, the choreographer of the production in 2010 and her partner, do you know Tony Patelis? A fantastic actor, a Greek-American actor. He's Janine Molinari's partner, and he had read the stage directions at the staged reading at Joe's Pub way back in the day. They're part of a non-profit theatre company, and they want to figure out a way to restage the musical. So then I've had this interesting job where, I told them, well, I've actually, since that production, I've adapted it into a film. Do you want to read the film script? They did. And now I've adapted the screenplay back into a theatre piece, now with more characters, which you think would be, and of course the whole point, one of the points of having so few characters in the first place for the musical theatre pieces, that's the smarter way with theatre these days. But they actually were open, strangely enough, to actually almost wanted more characters, especially because she's a choreographer. So anyway, it's been a lovely kind of excuse to do that. And I think they're going to have some in-house reading with their production company over the winter, and we'll see.
What kind of film musicals are on your list of top 3?
Well, I'm gonna betray how old I am. So I love. Okay, I'll go for Oliver.
I
sure.
love
I'll go first. Well, I'm going to give you Sound of Music, West Side Story, and I'd also say, and I never saw the stage production, I really like In the Heights. And I'm guessing I might not have liked it that much if I'd seen it on stage. I don't know.
I didn't love that show as much, but Gypsy was another one for me that was with Natalie Wood that was just so engaging.
Seen that. Okay, yeah.
Fiddler on the Roof is a really great musical as well.
Oh, yes. Hello.
A film musical. Yeah.
My daughter was just listening to that this morning.
Oh, look at that. So clearly story-driven is very important to you. And as someone who writes music, do you feel like stories are an important part of your music as well?
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, Nancy can speak to this as a songwriter. Some songs will be very narrative driven and some songs might just be sort of ornamental or just have not that much to it. But generally, I'm probably more narrative than most songwriters. And then the irony with that is people will often say, oh, you're so cinematic. Have you ever thought about getting your songs in movies? Well, I have been lucky to have songs in movies, but they're normally the least narrative-driven songs because there's too much narrative in a song. They want the song to sort of have a vibe. Generally, not always.
Let's talk about that a little bit, about how you've gotten your songs in movies. Mm-hmm. How has that happened for you? Different ways.
I've known a few directors who have been fans of my music and have asked for my music in certain. Then I also made an album with a French label. They are two brothers, the Cuisinier brothers in Paris, who do music for films, are quite successful, and for commercials. And it was actually, in a way, a library album. They wanted to make a library album of Americana music. And they approached me and asked me if I wanted to be part of that. And I had it was a lovely excuse. I had all these throwaway songs and I sent them like 12 or 13 songs and they said, yes, let's do these. And then they did a very good job. I recorded them in New York with the incredible Riley McMahon, we did a song a day. But these French guys really knew what they wanted. They said, okay, can you have banjo on this one? Harmonica on this one. Their choices were very good. Anyway, they got those songs into a lot of different things. But then finally, and I'm rather sad about this, I've had songs. There was a wonderful woman in LA called Carol Sue Baker who used to represent my songs. She represented different artists and would get their music to different music supervisors in LA. I mean, it wouldn't, if the music supervisors would say, we need this, this, and this. And so she would get a few songs of mine into films that way. Unfortunately, during this last actor strike, she finally,
gave up.
Hung up her boots. Yeah. So that's a pity because I was hoping to send the music from this record, this is what I'm working on, to her. So it's an ongoing question because I don't know many active directors at the moment.
But you have some income coming in from having placed songs in films. Are you with ASCAP BMI or?
I'm with ASCAP, which is it's actually, since I moved back to London, I thought, oh, well, I should maybe now join PRS here. But you can't be a member of both.
Do you want to explain to our listener what you're talking about?
So these are performance rights organizations that collect royalties on your behalf. So there's in America the two most famous ones are ASCAP and BMI. But in every country there are. In France it's SACEM.
There's CSAC.
CSAC in America too, yes, and then I think it's PRS in England.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I joined ASCAP shortly after I arrived in New York back in the late 90s. And they were very good to me, but it was more useful to me when I lived in New York. So they collect royalties for songs on both the publishing side, because you have one has a publishing entity, or unless you get bought out by some huge publishing company, and then on the writer's side. So
people know that writers get a portion and the publishers get a portion.
Now the business has changed, and this is actually one of the many things that have changed because of streaming. Because it used to be, there's a strange quirk in that it used to be that the publisher, it was always the case that with the initial licensing fee, so let's say a movie production house will want to pay a license to use your song in a movie, there's the initial licensing fee only goes to the publisher. Then the royalties subsequently get split sort of 50-50 to the publisher and to the writer, and then there could be different publishers too. So what's happened with the streaming is that actually now a far higher percentage of the money that ever gets made on the project gets paid in the initial licensing deal, because the royalties now are far lower than they used to be. So it's actually all the more reason to keep your publishing. Anyway, so I do make some money from royalties through ASCAP, but I'm noticing it's getting a little smaller every year at the moment.
And you think it's because of streaming, or do you think it's just that they're older movies or things like that?
I think it's mostly because I haven't had as many placements recently. But streaming, there are a couple of, for instance, one of the songs from my band called "All in the Past" was the name of the song. Was on. I mean, even that's actually set a while ago. But for instance, that was on a Netflix show called Bloodline. That was a number of years ago. But that was a big, it was the closing credits of a show that millions and millions of people watched. And the licensing fee was good for that. But there have been hardly any royalties because because it's on Netflix.
Right.
Anyway.
Streaming is kind of killing income for artists. It's making it very difficult for artists to survive.
Streaming.
It's a real shame.
Streaming, and then of course Spotify, and then and then at the same time, live music venues are closing.
What gets you to go out and see music?
Very good question. Well, to go and see friends most of the time. So it's different, but I've never been. The irony is, when I started writing songs, I just was interested in recording them, because I actually never really enjoyed going out to see music, with a few exceptions. And it's a funny thing. I honestly go to a show, and unless it's amazing on a narrative level, I'm like, oh, I know what's going to happen after this song. There's going to be another song, and after that, there's going to be another song, and and normally I'm done after a few, even if So I'm not. Thankfully, audiences. There are still a lot of people who don't look at it that way. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I'll go out to a show and it's just what I need and I feel inspired. But I'm not the guy.
I try. It's funny. When I go out, I'm praying that someone is going to inspire me and shake me up and make me want to go home, write, sing.
Yep.
Especially when I was younger, I always felt that the same kind of way as you, where I was just like, oh God, this is so dull. It's like, especially sometimes when it was someone, everybody was like, this is the best thing. And then you're watching it and you're like, it's just the same crap everyone else is doing. But then you hear that thing that just blows your mind and makes you want to do it. And that's, for me, why I go out to hear people. Even now, I don't go out as much as I used to, of course. I've actually learned through the pandemic that I'm much more introverted than I thought I was. But I do think that being inspired matters.
And and the other side of what you said is, yes, it could be very demoralizing. That's the thing. It's not just being not being inspired. And it's particularly when you see a show where, I mean, of course, everyone's got different tastes. We all know that. It's a wonderful thing. And I'm learning that all over again with an 8-year-old daughter. But,
is she a Swiftie?
She's not. Actually, I've said nothing bad about Taylor Swift. And she sang in a choir at Regent's Park this last summer. It was great. It was a real honor that she was invited to at the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. She was invited to be part of the choir, and she said, "Oh no, we're singing a Taylor Swift medley." And I'm like, "That's great, isn't it? I don't like Taylor Swift," and I've never said a word. And I've got nothing against Taylor Swift, but I still, I'm not quite sure where that came from.
Well, it's kind of obvious between you and Claire. When you have parents who are artists, you tend to have nothing against Taylor Swift, because I love her politically especially, but she's more attuned probably to more artistic, not more cliched music, I would think.
I don't know. It could just be that she's already kind of wants to buck the trend. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's curious.
Which popular bands are you not a fan of? Can we talk about that? Or actually, like when you were younger, who was the rage and you were like, yeah, not for me?
Well, I don't think the rage. I've never been a Led Zeppelin fan. Now I'm dating myself.
Can I tell you I know you guys are going to hate me, who I never liked, that everybody was shocked.
Who?
I never liked the Beatles.
Same.
I never got it.
Yeah.
And then I will tell you, though, now that I'm older, I love them.
I wouldn't be playing music if it weren't for the Beatles. Beatles were what got me in. But you know what? I'm not going to take the bait. I'm not a hater, Pete. I'm not a hater.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Pete, you didn't like the Beatles?
No, also, that's like a thing
along.
that I would never tell someone from the UK, but it just happened. And I'm living through it. But yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. Don't
Even
own
now,
a
right.
single Beatles song on any of my devices.
It's not just the UK. Every musician here that I've ever worked with always references the Beatles. It's also mostly guys. It is just a thing, and I've always known it. So I had to go back and listen and go, okay, let me get it. And now I kind of get it now.
What would you drop, 1,000 pounds on? Like, who would you just go, I have to go see this show. I don't care how much it costs. I'm going,
no one
now.
For me.
So
I'd never spend that.
Okay, let's say you had 1,000 pounds to throw away. Who would you really love to spend it on?
I had to spend. Who's still alive?
That would be a better concert, yes.
Because I would say Billie Holiday would be the person I would see, and that's the one, but she's dead.
Sure.
I'm thinking about it, so there's obviously no one jumping out to me. I would probably go and see, not that I'm a big Wagner fan, I'd go and see the Ring Cycle.
Oh, okay. I mean,
that's what I mean. If I'm going to spend I have to splurge on something, I do something like that. I'm like, yeah. No, I'm this. Yeah.
Do you go to the opera in general?
Not often. Once in a blue moon. I'm not a big opera fan.
What is it about the Ring Cycle that you?
Well, it's. I just feel that's like Have you read War and Peace? Have you seen the Ring Cycle? Have you It's just something not so I can say to somebody I've seen the Ring. I just sort of think, okay, I'd like to experience that. That sounds like I'm sure I'd get quite bored at certain points, but it's terrible. I can't at this point. I can't think of anybody. Oh, okay. I would say Tom Waits.
Oh, okay.
I could see that.
Sure.
You kind of have a Tom Waits vibe about your music as well.
Yeah,
sometimes.
But he's Tom Waits. Yeah, Tom Waits. That would be the one.
Comparison.
I would love to see him. I've never seen him live. The best concert I've ever seen was Bruce Springsteen.
I only hear great things about his concerts.
Yeah, he was one of my first concerts as a kid, and I was so blown away on every level. First of all, Born to Run for me is one of the best records ever written, produced. It hands down is just one of the most beautiful records. I listen to it all the time to this day.
The whole album?
The whole album.
Oh, I see. I should. Okay, good. I'll put that on.
Have you never listened to it?
Not the whole album. No.
Oh my God. And let me tell you, Meeting Across the River is one of the most profound songs. At some day I want to do a cover of it. It's just devastating and just so poetic. Everything about that record is poetic. And I'll tell you a quick story. When I first started doing music, somebody, I don't remember who it was, introduced me to Mike Appel, who was Springsteen's first manager. So I was so excited, and he wanted to manage me. And I was so thrilled. And then we got together, and Mike had long been out of the Springsteen circle and out of the business. And I just realized that it wasn't a match through certain parts of the conversation. And so I didn't end up working with him. But there was a part of me that was so excited about the potential of working with the person who launched Springsteen's career, who was part of that, would have been amazing. But I just didn't feel like it was the right fit.
Yeah, follow your gut. I think that sounds right.
Yeah. Have you ever had situations like that where somebody's been wanting to work with you, promote you, manage you, that you just were like, this isn't right for me? Either of you?
Sort of, yes, a little bit. I mean,
what were the red flags that you saw that made you go, wow, this could be great on one level? Like, talk about it a little bit, if you would.
Well, one was I was in this band, this is slightly different. I was in a band in DC that we played in New York quite a bit, because I used to live in Washington, D.C. It was a band called the Zimmermans, and there was amazing lead singer. I wrote most of the songs, but the lead singer was this woman, Lisa E. And we were just about to break up when there was interest from several managers, including, was it Lou Reed's ex-wife? Saw us play at the Mercury Lounge. And that was not so much that there were red flags. It was just like, actually, the red flag was being in the band. And I thought, get out of it. Then there was a management company that helped my band, The Enemies, Spottiswoode His Enemies, for a bit and got us on the road. And this wasn't so much red flag. It was the guy had we had recorded, it was insane. We had recorded 31 songs. Before he came on board, I was like, I had 3 albums we were going to make. We recorded them in 6 days. There was some overdubs to do. And he had a perfectly reasonable suggestion, which was, why don't you actually just make one record of the best songs, And I'm an eclectic songwriter. And so I just saw them as very, and it wasn't a terrible suggestion. I just thought, to me, it was, well, I think I was already such a pessimist. I thought, you know what? I don't think that's going to make any difference. So why don't I it's kind of like Beckett, fail better. Why don't I just fail on my own terms?
Yeah.
Rather than fail on someone else's, which is a very negative way of looking at it. But I don't know. I mean, it wasn't just a negative. I guess I put a positive spin on it. I wanted to make the records I wanted to make.
Yeah.
But that's not so much a red flag. But yeah, there have been some other promoters here and there, obviously, had red flags.
How long were you with the Enemies?
I'm still with the Enemies.
Oh, how do you stay together for so long?
Well, I mean, it's sort of like, imagine owning a super yacht and it's in dry dock. That's really
I don't have to imagine that.
Oh, you've got your super yacht. Okay, yeah. Well, imagine owning a dinghy,
Okay.
I mean, it's
yeah.
You don't have to play. I mean, okay, the Rolling Stones don't have to play for a couple of years. They're still the Rolling Stones. But I mean, yeah, so I'm going to be back in New York, not till April, but I'll play a concert with them. So we've been together since 1997.
Wow.
How has that worked?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Your personalities match. You all kind of finish each other's sentences. You're in the same world musically. Like, what is it that makes? How many people are in the band?
Well, we're a 7-piece band.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Unfortunately, one of the band members, Riley McMahon, has been fairly ill for several years now.
I didn't know that.
He hasn't. He's also, as well, he only has a 2-year-old daughter. Oh. And he and Natalie, his wife, have moved to Providence, Rhode Island. So we actually haven't played a gig with Riley since the pandemic.
And Riley was sort of your right hand.
Riley was amazing.
He
guitarist.
Is an amazing performer, producer, and just a great guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so heartbreaking to hear.
And he's produced a lot of the band's records and some other records of mine.
Yeah, you just like seeing each other? Or what? Yeah, what is it?
We like playing music together. I think, that it must be some kind of cult. I must have done something that I think they all like playing my music.
Maybe you should run for president here.
Actually, funny you should make that. I just literally, for my Patreon community, played a song of mine that I wrote 20 years ago during the Bush-Kerry campaign called My Own Ayatollah. And it's about like I'm saying, I feel like I've been running for president. I've got to stop. I'm going to be my own Ayatollah. And a lot of us were in a band before that in DC. I think having played together for a long time, there's just a comfort. It's deeper. It's no longer transactional. It's just like we're a family in a way, even now. And it's so, and I think I'd like to pat myself on the back. I think I did a few things right. I think early on, it was sort of like giving people freedom, obviously, to bring their own musicianship to the table. There were certain things. I had a few rules early on that were good, like strange ones that sound quite sort of egocentric. Like it was like we're only going to play my songs. Now that sounds like, well, otherwise, if you have other people in the band coming to you saying, "Can we do my song?" They never did. There wasn't a band before that. Then you've got a problem.
Yeah.
Not only because you might not want to play it, but if then one person wants to play their song, then someone else comes to want to play their song, and then other people are like, "Well, I want to be in your band to play your song, not to play their song."
It doesn't hurt that you're a phenomenal songwriter, and that there's probably no one that can write like you do either. I would imagine maybe Riley. I don't know. Actually, I'm speaking for the other band members, but I never knew them in that way.
I think the thing is, and I found something similar here in Europe with a few people I play with, is that I think that there is a certain like-mindedness. I think they like playing different genres of music. And I think that it's a marketing liability for me and for the band, but I think that most artists, whether they like it or not, end up sticking to one genre. And I think that can get quite dull for some musicians. Looking back on it, as blessed as I've been by having this 7-piece band, and what an incredible luxury. If I were to speak to a young me in 1997, I would say don't form a 7-piece band.
Well, do they all have an investment financially in the band, or like do they have a percentage?
They all have a cut of publishing of the songs we record.
Oh, that's great.
So the irony is that actually most of the money I've made from my music has come from other songs. So
really? From covers? No,
from songs I've recorded without them, songs other people. The record I made with my ex-girlfriend Bronwyn, she recorded.
Who's also a phenomenal singer-songwriter.
So a number of those songs got some good placements. So anyway, it's
no.
Was there ever a point with the Enemies where somebody was dangling a carrot in front of you that was like, okay, guys, this is the one. This is the one. This is the one that's going to propel us into the stratosphere of top 10 songs in Rolling Stone, or
there was the dangling carrot makes it sound like it's like a temptation. Like I never felt. Yeah. So if anybody ever says to me, one thing I really admire about you is you never sold out, I'd be like, I don't think I ever had a chance to sell out. And, if someone dangled something in front of me, I probably would have taken it. But it's interesting you mention it. That guy I was talking about who wanted us to put out the best 10 songs from a bunch of records. When he got behind us, he got a radio promoter on board, and we played the non-com convention, which was a convention for non-commercial radio stations, which is a big deal around the country. Like WFUV is a non-com, right? So there are those market WXPN in Philadelphia. So it's a big brotherhood or sisterhood or whatever it is of radio stations around the country, and big AAA radio. And it was my worst nightmare. It was like we had to play in a hotel conference room one weekday afternoon in Philadelphia to these DJs.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it was going to be a half-hour set. No, and oddly enough, that was the one time when we did this half-hour set, and these DJs who'd been in this boring conference, maybe it wasn't boring for them for a couple of days, they all gave us a standing ovation.
Wow.
That was and I had people come up to me like, we're playing, will you play this festival and this festival? That was the one time, oddly enough, where I was like, oh, I could think this could run now.
And what happened?
Well, we had a song that was playing a lot on AAA at the time. And then we got invited to 3 or 4 festivals around the country. And we had the management company, and we were on the World Cafe, and we had a booker. And then it just got hard. We were just traveling long distances. Sometimes we get these great reviews incredible reviews in a local newspaper, and you'd think, wow. And then we'd show up at the venue, and there'd be, 3 or 4 people there, and
Wow.
and a really loud PA from upstairs that we could barely hear ourselves as we're playing. And I felt guilty. I was like taking, I have a song I wrote around about that time called Wild Goose Chase Expedition. We got an album called that, where I felt like I was taking my band. It was more than just a wild goose chase. It was a wild goose chase expedition. So, and our booker said, no, you got to keep playing. But with a 7-piece band,
Yeah,
it
it's really
just
hard.
felt like, and maybe we could have just brazened it out. It's just hard for morale when you've traveled hundreds of miles to play to, 5 or 6 people. And, and don't get me wrong, normally on any tour, there'll be some oasis, something incredible will happen somewhere
Right.
where you go, this makes it worth it. But it gets hard.
Did you ever consider just going out and playing solo as an opening act or any of that? Because you're a phenomenal solo player. In fact, when I first saw you for the first time, you were playing solo at the Panty Party. You had played and just knocked my socks off. You were so good.
Well, I wish you told me that then. Well, maybe you did say
I
say nice
did.
things.
Sure.
Because I feel like I've gone everything backwards. Because I really wasn't till I moved back to England and till after my daughter was born when I started going, I should just play some concerts here in London on my own. And then I only feel like it's in the last 7 or 8 years that I've actually feel like I'm a good solo performer.
Your songs are so good that they work as solo pieces and band pieces. And that always struck me because I think that's a really important sign of a great song.
Thank you. I mean, I guess there's one thing playing a song or two, playing a set. It was just something I needed, actually more than my advice would be less, maybe not so much should have had a 4-piece band rather than a 7-piece band. My advice would have been maybe actually in addition to having the 7-piece band, you should be playing solo.
Yeah.
I played with Riley, I played these duo shows, but I think, you learn so much playing solo. It's really helped me as a band leader, even all these years later.
Did you say you played Devo shows? Like Devo the band? Did you just say these Devo shows?
No. Duo shows maybe.
What is that?
It's
I played
that British accent.
duo.
A duo.
Duo, like a duet. So this wonderful musician, Riley McMahon, we're talking about, I did Spottiswoode McMahon, S&M. We did our S&M shows.
Great. When you said Devo, I was like, do you open for bands? Like, is that a thing you do, or you're the people open for you? Or like maybe it's changed over the course of your career?
Well, I mean, apart from when we played a Dylan tribute, we were the house band for a Dylan tribute at Lincoln Center, where everybody else on the bill was uber famous, and they were like,
gosh.
Apart from that, I haven't really opened for many famous. Some people have become famous. A lot of people have become famous, I guess, since then. But
Well, you also have a network of really phenomenally talented artists, especially from New York, that have done well.
we used to do these residencies where I'd have people open for us, but that was because I was curating the residencies. But I wish I had some famous friends who would have me open for them in large contexts.
Oh, I was wondering actually if you ever did want to be famous. Do you recall an age where you were like, I'm just going to be a big star? Or did you ever think, like some people want to be rich and famous, and I realized I never wanted to be either, and my dream came true. So what, some people only want to be rich. Some people only want to be famous. Are you either of those?
No, but it's a very good question because it goes to the heart of so much of, a lot of these conversations. Yeah. I do remember when I was about 12 and I was listening to the Beatles, forgive me. I do remember singing with a microphone or a fake microphone in front of a mirror. So at that moment, I think maybe I just thought I was John or Paul, but maybe I wanted to be famous then. I don't know. But no, and in fact, I love the Beatles. I didn't want to be, I want to be famous like the Beatles or I want to be rich like the Beatles. It was like, wouldn't it be incredible to have put your feelings into a song and make it sound beautiful? That was, and actually it's something I've come back to after all these years, is that still the thing. It's a very teenage thing in me. That's the thing. But I do think that in my 30s, wasn't I wanted to become famous, and this is the dilemma, because everybody wants on some level to be successful. Now you could define what success is. And so we've all different measure of success. But so that's the frustration, is that I wish I were famous, because it would allow, not because I want to be famous, but because it would then allow me to, like, for instance, I've got a musical, then I could get backing for my musical.
Right. Yep.
Or I wish I were famous because then, I would love to be able to call up so-and-so and collaborate with that person.
Yep.
I wish I could knew that if I was going to go to some city in Europe, and I play in Europe, that, that I could guarantee at least enough people at a venue.
Right.
You can make a living at it.
Yeah. No,
it's like leveraging your fame to be able to continue creating art, because you can create art in a we talked about this a little bit last time. You can create art in a vacuum if you want. But I suppose that gets very frustrating. Well, I know it does, because I'm one of those people who occasionally just create stuff and I'm like, well, where is this going? Who cares about this?
Right.
But if I just had that one thing, then it would help me get to the next thing, to make that little thing that I'm doing in my bubble a more public thing.
Yeah, which would be, it's the flow. I mean, I often find myself getting deep into working on a script or working particularly on the recordings, and I love it. I love it. And then it's that period when it's like, oh, now what am I going to do with it? How am I going to put this out into the world? That I find it becomes an existential question. It's like, wait a minute, why was I spending so much time trying to make this so good? To a large degree, I seem to be okay with that. Okay with spending a lot of time doing something that's where the main audience is me.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's more than just that, but it's like and that may not be healthy, probably isn't, but I found a way in my weird life, in the way my life has come together, where that seems to happen at some periods.
But I don't regret all those hearts I stole. Each was returned. Each touched my soul. And I can't walk with you on the path to Jesus. I'm happy in my reverie. I'm sorry.
What is the craziest experience you've had as an artist, or craziest interaction you've had with something or someone else?
Oh, crazy bad.
Yeah,
yes,
of course.
I can tell you crazy bad. And, and I think the statute of limitations have run out at this point.
Great.
I think it was an Easter show at the living room on Ludlow Street. Mm. And we were playing, we had just gone to the stage where we were kind of gone backwards to go forwards, because we were playing bucket gigs.
Past
the bucket, but we were making lots of money on these bucket gigs and selling CDs. So it was better than when we were playing like a nicer venues like the Fairs or something like that, or Joe's Pub. And we were getting new crowds. So it was okay, this is working. We were playing this double set at like midnight on a Saturday, or maybe it was Easter Sunday. It was packed because, of course, because it's a bucket gig, because it was the living room, it was like there were other people from the band, audience from the band before that were there. So it was already packed. We started playing and we had lots and lots of people at the back trying to get in who couldn't get in because there were people sitting there in the front and all throughout the room. And there was a woman 2 rows back, and there were table seating, who was incredibly loud. Oh. And we played the first song, and it was like, and I said, do you mind being a bit quieter? Or play another song. She was louder and louder. And then we played the song. You might remember it was one of these songs where Riley McMahon, the guitar player, goes into this crazily loud solo called Olivia. Really, this rocker. And in the midst of, like, we were playing at 1,000 decibels, I could still hear her. And it was driving me nuts. And I did this most ridiculous thing. It's a murder song. It's about a guy who's going to help murder this woman's husband to be with her. It's like a song about obsession. So there's this long solo, and I can still hear her. And I'm like, how? And I'm playing my guitar, and I'm like, I get down onto my knees. Riley's playing the solo, and I'm noodling on my guitar, and I kind of sidle my way on my knees while playing the guitar through the front row to the second row. And I don't know. I mean, I think I'm not proud of this, but I'm saying this. I start chewing the bottom of her jeans. I'm like pulling. I'm just trying to get her to shut up. I'm so angry.
You're rabid.
Okay, that's crazy.
Like, it is crazy, and she still will she keeps talking, and then I do so, and then I'm like, she will not shut up. And I say this, I hope the statute of limitations is passed. I pick up bottom a chair leg, and I'm lying underneath it and tip her over. I mean, this is physical violence. I'm talking about.
Yes.
She lands on top of me. The whole band is now, oddly enough, they're not worried about her or about me. They're worried about my Martin guitar that I'm playing.
Of course, yeah.
I then crawl back to the stage, still playing this in pandemonium on stage with the soloing. She follows me, and I don't know what she's. I think she just starts pummeling me on my back, like I'm not going. The solo keeps going, and it seems in keeping with the subject of the song.
Right.
She and her friends then leave. Other people come in and take the table. I get up, sing the next part of the verse.
But wait, where is she? Is she still on top?
They've left. No. She then, after hitting me, she goes back to a table, and she and her friends then go, okay, we're going.
Okay.
They leave. Other people then take the table. We sing the end of the song. I sing the end of the song. We play the rest of the set. And I am honestly, it's like I feel like I've had a nervous break. I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? This is terrible. I cannot believe I did that. And I'm walking out of the room, and the bass player's girlfriend, who I didn't see the altercation because it was so crowded, said, that was one of your best sets ever.
Oh my gosh.
I had to walk around the block. But I mean, that's
crazy.
Jonathan, this is your next music video. You've got to purge this demon. I mean, I'm glad we gave you the space to share this and relive it. But I think this is your next music video.
But whenever I read about like celebrities and paparazzi and stuff like that, I just think I don't get judgy. I go, okay.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you have to first check to make sure that there isn't a mental health thing going on.
Yeah.
So you're playing a song, you're entertaining, and you're also doing math on, maybe this person that's impossible right now, has some kind of mental health challenge. So how can I honor that without killing them?
Well, it's funny. I'll tell you a quick story. When my first professional job as a performer was at Kings Dominion Amusement Park in Doswell, Virginia. And we did 8 shows a day. And at the beginning of the show, we would walk into the audience and we'd talk with everybody. And, you have this whole thing going to get them excited. And nobody was saying anything. And we sit on their laps and all this stuff. Not one word. So like an idiot, I go, what's the matter? Are you all deaf or something?
Oh, no.
Nope.
They were.
Yep.
They were deaf, and I realized it. And I spent the whole show trying to make up for that comment. It was so horrible. But it was also like no one told us. We had no idea.
Right.
You just don't know what's going on is the point, right? You don't know what's going on with people. That was different. This woman was probably drunk off her rocker.
Yeah, no. It was whatever it was. It wasn't there. Yeah.
I drove home from college one time for a break. It was like 8-hour drive from Buffalo. And when I pulled up to my family's house in Long Island, the family was standing on the front porch looking like the Addams family, just like dour. And I literally got out of the car with all my stuff and I was like, what's the matter? Somebody die or something?
Oh.
Yeah, don't ever say that because it's probable that your grandmother died that morning. Don't ever say that.
Oh, God.
Well, on that happy note, we're going to let you go, Jonathan, to have a lovely rest of your day.
Spottiswoode, thank you for giving us your time, and thank you for giving the world your music and your art.
Everybody look at me, take another look at me, I'm beautiful. Everyone be good to me, do the things you should to me, I'm beautiful.
Hey, thanks for checking us out. Links to today's guest can be found in the show notes.
Don't forget to subscribe, like us, rate us, and tell all your friends about arts and craft.